Welcome to the Arrow Podcast. I'm Chris Mulvaney from CMDS. Today with me I have Joe Bezzone. Excited to talk to Joe and learn a lot about what he's been up to and the history from when he started to where he's at today. Hope you enjoy it, and let's roll it. All right, Joe.
Great.
So super nice to have you here at the podcast. Please tell me a little bit about yourself and let our audience know who you are, and then I'll get into some pretty cool questions.
Well, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. Unbelievable setting. I've done a bunch of podcasts. This is Total Pro, so it's pretty cool to be here.
Nice.
I guess when you're in marketing, you want to. You kind of want to.
These things aren't fake, right?
You want to show. I don't know whether I should sing or just continue to talk. But I'm easy. My story is easy. I'm a real estate developer. My differentiator is that I'm all things hospitality, and worked for a lot of the big names in the industry, building hotels and operating hotels between Boston and DC.
Wow.
And you tried, for my own account, many, many times, got there. But the truth is, providing advisory services to guys that are high net worth or institutional capital, that really has been the most rewarding. And the reason why is because money moves the pile.
Right.
Right. And you hear about hotels and restaurants and catering halls and anything kind of hospitality related. The one thing that kills it is undercapitalization.
Right. Yep.
So when you have a well-heeled client, you could do the things that you want to implement.
Right. Yeah. How'd you get into that space?
My dad, my father was a contractor. And he started out on the commercial side, but we got into hotels early on, and we started renovating existing hotels, taking them from one flag to another.
Okay. In New Jersey? Or
Mostly Jersey.
Yeah. You're born and raised in Jersey, right?
I'm born and raised in Jersey. Yeah. I'm actually a Newark guy, Essex County, but I've been faking to be a Monmouth County guy for the past 25 years. My two daughters are true Monmouth County gals. Went to school here.
I didn't realize that you didn't live down here. For some reason, I thought you were in the area.
No, I do. I live in Shrewsbury.
Oh, you do?
Right
Okay,
here.
got it. Okay.
But it's kind of, but I'm a transplant,
Yes, yeah.
And once in a while, I get reminded of that from some of my lifer friends down here.
It's, more than half, I would say, are transplants,
Yeah.
So.
I mean, especially from New York,
Yeah. Yep.
But to me, it was an easy choice. I mean, live down near the ocean, and and I was in a band, as you probably know,
Yes.
and so we played down here our whole lives. So it's my happy place.
Yes, yeah. So, what do you do in the band? You're sing?
I am the singer.
Yes,
yeah. Although if I sing, you'll have to pay me for
there
this.
There you go.
That's
Okay.
no problem.
Only paid gigs.
If I dance, I get real expensive.
There you go. Yeah.
So,
I know Joe and I wanted to come out and see you next time you're around.
Yeah.
So definitely let me know.
Absolutely. It's it's certainly it's age appropriate now. So we're not we put the pyrotechnics away, and
there you go.
It was never any fun. I was going to say costuming also, but no. But to answer your question,
So no face paint or anything like that?
Yeah, well,
no Gene Simmons?
There's another group that did that. We were a little late on that one, anyway, we needed it, if that makes any difference. But so my dad was into it, and we up-branded, what was called at the time, and Marriott. When I got in the business, Marriott owned thousands of hotels. Now they, I think, own one, which is the New York City. Times Square asset, the Marriott Marquis, and the whole industry shifted from this kind of ownership model to this service model. Most people don't know. The average person believes that Marriott is your partner as a developer. They're not. They are a service provider. They're managers. They're reservation systems, So we were kind of a recommended contractor for people that were trying to become Marriotts, become Hiltons. At the time, there were not, I don't even know how many Courtyards there are, thousands.
Right.
At the time, Courtyard was brand new. So we got into that, and then I used that kind of energy to build my first hotel, which was the Marriott at the Manor in West Orange. And so obviously they had the business, they had the weekend business, and they, people were like, where am I going to stay? And they got tired of sending people all over the place. And I was lucky enough, I met the Knowles family, a great family. Harry Knowles was a legend in the business. And he said, look, I want to do a hotel. I understand you're in the hotel business. At that time, I was in my 20s.
Right. Wow. Okay.
And we banged it out. It was unbelievable. So
Nice. And what did you help him with from start to finish? Like everything, all the construction?
concepting, as a matter of fact, we got the approvals, which was a real eye opener at the time. It's never been easy in New Jersey to get.
Oh, yeah, it's brutal
Right,
to
never
build
been
anything,
easy.
yeah.
And it's only get harder. So, and then we concepted it, and we picked the brand. Even that was a whole kind of white paper and how we went about that. And then we built it in modular construction out of Pennsylvania. We built the entire hotel in Pennsylvania, and we shipped
Wow.
it. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, and we actually won an award for that, that year. So,
What year was this?
2001. I know that because we took 5 days off when 9/11 hit.
Wow.
Yeah,
No, that's crazy.
yeah. So,
So how did you meet the Knowles?
thank you. That's a great. By the way, dude, we didn't rehearse this, so I appreciate that question.
And we haven't talked in over a year.
Yeah.
At least,
So I So I had 3 jobs. I worked for my dad during the day.
Yep.
Okay, this is pre-marriage. Worked for my dad during the day, and then I decided to open up a restaurant,
Okay.
and that was my first foray into ops.
Entrepreneurs. Yeah.
And we got 3 stars to the New York Times. It's still there. It was called Dewey Amici in West Orange.
Oh, nice.
Down the hill from the Highland Pavilion, which the Knowles family owned.
Okay.
And Harry himself lived in Llewellyn Park, which is in West Orange. So he'd drive by.
Saw your place.
He'd
all the
try,
time.
yeah, and he would come. He would come with his wife for dinner. You don't always want to eat where you work.
Right. Yeah.
And we got talking, and then we started becoming friendly. And I told him that I worked during the day as a hotel guy, and he liked entrepreneurs. And he said, "Listen, I want you to."
Help me
He's
out
like,
here.
well, yeah. He's like, it's going to be a conflict. It's going to be a conflict for you at work. I said, no conflict. He's like, how do you know? Because I sold it the next day. I'm like, I'm out. I'm going to go build hotels. I mean, listen, only 2 types of restaurateurs: those out and those are going out.
Yeah,
no one
I know.
stays in forever. It's
I
too
know.
hard.
It's definitely a challenging, low margin business.
It's too
you know,
hard.
So.
Yeah. So he gave me my start, and from there I went to Atlantic City and I built for Colony Capital. Tom Barrack, who's a name, and that kind of brought me into the whole kind of Trump atmosphere down there.
Okay.
It's around the same time. And we built Resorts International. It was a high-rise tower.
Okay.
So I got, real, total union, high-rise, big names.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a lot of fun, actually.
So are you like kind of managing every aspect of building the hotel then?
The best way to describe my scope of work is owner's rep. I act as the owner when the owner's not around.
Got
and then
it.
when the owner's not around, I get smacked around.
Got it.
Right? But that's okay. Somebody
Right.
needs it, okay? But when they're not there, I get to implement their will. And it's an important position, obviously not as great as owning the property, but sometimes it's better because not every property makes it.
Right. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
that's what crafted kind of the service mentality. And then how I got into operations is I built a hotel for Normandy Real Estate Partners, Dave Welsh,
Okay.
Finn Wentworth, 2 dear friends who really are responsible for most of my career advancement. And they moved into the Boston sector. We partnered with Ian Schrager's Morgan's Hotel Group.
Okay.
And we built a boutique hotel, and I was right in the middle of the whole thing.
That's fun.
And then they couldn't find an operator to operate the food and beverage. And I did it because I had the restaurant background.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I became this kind of owner's rep operator guy. And
Right.
to this day, it follows me.
That's great. What would be the largest project that you've worked on that maybe my audience might know of?
Well, I would say the largest project was the Atlantic City Resorts Rendezvous Tower. I mean, that was about $150 million. I built another hotel with Curtis Bashaw from Cape Advisors.
Okay.
Curtis, as you probably know, ran for state senator, New Jersey state senator, recently, and actually came pretty close to winning. Unbelievable guy, one of the true multitaskers I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And he has the Cape May franchise down there, Congress Hall in the Virginia. I mean, total.
Oh, he has Congress Hall down there? That's
He
his?
owns
Oh,
Congress
yeah.
Hall,
It's
the
a beautiful
Virginia. I mean,
place,
so
but-
many great properties.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a true operator. I worked hand in hand with Patrick Logue, his right hand man.
Okay.
And together we, he led. Very rarely does an owner actually, roll the sleeves up and get involved, but he got
does.
involved, and I represented his partners, which was Normandy Real Estate
Yep.
Partners, and acted as their rep, and I sat there and together we put this thing together.
Awesome.
Mostly him,
Yeah.
with me, calling in some instructions every now and
Right.
again.
Yeah.
But that was about $100 million. The Ames Hotel in Boston was another pretty significant project. What made that significant is that it was a historic hotel, so we had to keep everything historic, and it was
Yep.
cool to do a deal with Morgans, who were the cool kids on the block.
Yeah.
So got that kind of Studio 54, Ian Schrager vibe.
Yeah.
And we worked with actually David Rockwell, which is a pretty named designer
Yep.
in New York, and so that really kind of cut some new ground there for
Yeah.
Boston for sure.
Right.
Which is traditionally kind of a laid back kind of town.
Mm-hmm.
So that was great. And so now I guess I'm kind of a what they call we're all on the creative side, right? You have to be creative to be in this context, but
Right.
to be an experienced creative, I think is kind of not that I am in the highest rung, but that's what I strive for, to take
Right.
a breadth of experience, push that into creativity and make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's changed? I mean, so how long have you been doing this for?
I say 25 years,
Yeah.
but I'm going to say 25 years, even if it's 50. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
So you
just
started
the
when
way-
you were 20?
I graduated, so about 25 years, right?
Nice. Cool. Awesome. What's been the biggest change since, beginning?
Another great question, Chris. I think what has changed is nothing. Hospitality is biblical,
Right.
There's always been an inn,
Yep.
and there's always been an innkeeper, and so that vibe of providing hospitality, neighborly hospitality, service, I think, has been around since man, right? So
Right.
and men and women, but I think when we look at service, which is really the most important part. Believe it or not, everybody has gotten good on food now.
Yeah.
It's hard to kind of find a real bad meal.
Yeah.
You have YouTube.
Right.
The greatest chefs in the world bring you through every one of their dishes.
Right.
The techniques are there.
Yep.
I'm not saying you don't need culinary school, because I think they're teaching business, they're teaching, safety, kitchen,
Yeah, some techniques.
Yeah,
Things that-
techniques, and most importantly, cleaning and kitchen etiquette. But as it relates to the recipes, you can get every recipe in the world. I mean, so technology, I think, has brought up the food. Service, though, is still kind of a personal thing, right?
Yeah. And extremely challenging in today's market, right? Like finding
Yeah.
great servers, great employees in general, right?
I think. Look, every one of us. I mean, you and I may be similar in certain ways. I mean, I don't train very easy. Most entrepreneurs don't train very easy.
Yep.
But if you have the right mindset and the protocol and steps of service,
Yep.
you could train anybody to do anything.
Right.
I think that the hospitality industry as a whole has become this kind of race to the bottom in a way.
Yep.
They all start out sparkling brand new.
Yep.
And everybody's well intended and starched, and then it becomes, how can we make money, because it is a business.
Right.
And as margins get pushed, right? It's, you can see what's happening right now in the world,
Yeah,
right?
yep.
Food's getting more expensive. Minimum wage is rising, but at the same time, people don't want to pay more, right?
Right. Yep.
I mean, if you told me in 1983 that a dish of pasta in Monmouth County would be in $35,
Right.
I'd say, what do you mean? It's 50 cents.
Yep.
Right? Where's the rest of it coming from? And the truth is the margins are such, and so we, as the consumers, pay the tax, if you will.
Right. Yep.
But because now everything is so expensive, you want service to match.
The price. Yeah.
And everyone is great at decor. Most of the restaurants are beautiful. Most of the food is good. So the only place I think that can be improved, to answer your question, is service.
Service. Yep.
And that really is about knowing good service. And how do you know good service? You've got to be a good customer.
Right.
If you know what you like,
Yes, you'll
right?
deliver that. Right. Yep.
And if you could just deliver what you like to as many people as possible,
Yep.
I think it works. And then, of course, the critics say, well, what you like, I may not like. Well, guess what?
Yep.
Then like, I want to attract the people that like what I like.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the way to provide the greatest level of hospitality. But that's what's changed. I think the margins have been shrunk.
Yes.
And there's only so much the market will bear.
How much are you like keeping in touch after a hotel has been built or everything is done? Like your relationship with somebody for a project is complete, and you're not involved in the food aspect of it.
Well, if I don't operate the asset post construction, what I find is projects come in two forms: successful and not. And those that are successful want to do more.
Right.
So my relationship with the project is more the relationship with the kind of developer,
Right.
who is always looking for another spot. And then if you're kind of entrepreneurial and aggressive, you find the spot.
Yeah.
And say, I got a great spot for you. It's
Yeah.
exactly what you like, just like we did. And all the mistakes we made on this one, we're not going to make on this one. Let's go.
Right.
And so it really becomes kind of a, new in this business always wins.
New.
I tell if there's
New
one
concept or new building. Or
well,
both?
it could be either or. The one thing that I could, if there's any information, I mean, on the World Wide Web, you're going to be out there and your following is great, and I'm one of them. But I think the one thing I could tell any entrepreneur that's in the hospitality business that seems to be either flat or struggling, there's only two ways. You're either growing or you're dying.
Right. 100%.
And if you're not growing,
Yep.
change your concept.
100%. Yes. Amen.
I don't
Yeah.
care if it's just put a new sign out front.
Yeah.
Change your concept.
Yeah, I feel
because
like I say
newer
that
wins.
every single podcast, so
Yeah.
I'll not really get into it too much. But like, if,
Yeah.
if you're not growing, you're coasting, you're going downhill, right? So it's the same thing. Like nobody wants to be in a position where their business is going down. So you always have to innovate, change.
And everyone knows it, and the entrepreneur knows it first.
Right.
But there are barriers to entry to that. To get new furniture, to get new this, to get new that, to refresh is capital intensive.
Right.
So what happens is that usually people wait a little bit too long, and then they don't have the money. But I'm saying I don't care even if I'm go to French toast, man. Just
Yeah.
change it,
Right.
and you'll get a second bite at the apple.
Right. Do you ever help with the money part? People need to raise capital.
Yes. So the business obviously runs on right. An engine runs on gas, and money's the gas. And banking, has an odd relationship with hospitality, and I do know why. It's because at the end of the day, it is not a kind of real estate business. It's the service business.
Right.
When the institutional capital flowed from commercial office to hotels, and that happened, the reason why they did that is they thought that the hotels were being sold, on cap rates. And these cap rates were the same kind of capitalization that the office buildings were being sold at. And so they're like, wait a second, this is being sold at a cap. Oh, I see. Instead of collecting a rent, you're collecting kind of a rent every night or every day.
Yep.
And so if you do that, and you could show kind of this stabilization where it's kind of the income gets relatively predictable, we could sell it, okay, on this on cap rates. And cap rates almost got as low for hotels at one point as they did for commercial office buildings. But what we see in life, everything changes. So as soon as the market gets in flux, as soon as there's kind of any kind of velocity in the market, or really any global event, everything goes sideways.
Right.
Now you can't sell if you wanted to.
Right.
So what happens? Now you have to actually operate.
Right.
And people want towels every morning.
Right.
They don't want it in the commercial office sector.
Right.
Or if you own an apartment building, you're not getting into that level of detail. But I mean, I've had situations where I'm getting calls, people, in a room looking up, who owns the hotel, finding my email, and texting me saying, "Hi, this is terrible service. I need help. I'm in room X."
Wow.
And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
And
That's
wild.
wild.
So it is wild, but that's what makes it different. So because of that, I think the banks shy away from lending into that sector,
Right.
because it's not predictable.
Right. Yep.
But because of that, everything revolves around banking. And then the good news about the hospitality industry is a lot of regular investors, limited partner investors, LPs, they love the idea because it's glamorous.
Right.
To own a little, to have your seat at your restaurant
Yeah.
is big time
Right.
for a lot of people.
Everybody wants that.
Everybody wants it.
I want it.
Yeah, so if you could break up the LP in a way that works, I think you always, so it's knowing what banks are friendly and knowing the high net worth accredited investors. So we help.
The Arrow Podcast is brought to you by CMDS, a business breakthrough agency helping brands reinvent and reignite themselves at the core. We work with B2B companies to help them figure out how they're unique and remarkable in their own space, then leverage that information to build great websites, awesome social media strategies, and leadership content that's going to drive more brand awareness to their company. If you're looking to learn more about how we can help you achieve extreme business growth, please reach out to CMDS at 732-706-5555, or you can visit us online at cmdsonline.com. Years ago, Airbnb, VRBO, all these web-based, booking sites started to come up, where there became options to now, rent a house for a couple of nights instead of use a hotel. Have you seen that affect anything that you're doing in business?
It's a great idea. The whole Airbnb phenomenon is tremendous. I tell people all the time, even better in Europe than the United States. I mean, if you're traveling in any of the capital cities, the Airbnbs, you can get great apartments for way less than what you could get a great hotel for.
Right.
Services are on you, but so what? Maybe that's even better.
It's a little different. Yep.
Yeah, it's a little different. I like a full service experience, so I don't do that, but I have friends of mine that go through Europe in these Airbnbs and crush it. In the United States, we've had a few issues and problems in that, people were using Airbnb for kind of like to host parties. And so those parties kind of, even though I don't know what the stats are, but the bad ones went bad.
Right.
And so each town then started saying, wait a second, we have to get ahead of this. Not in our town. You're not going to be able to come in and people be like, we need to know who's living in our town, right? Yep. So no longer can we, a tenant, Airbnb to a third party, and now there's a party and there's a problem. So, and because of that, a lot of the laws in these towns, especially in New Jersey, 560 some odd municipalities, most of them have timing clauses to the residencies, so that you have to rent an apartment for at least a year in order for it to be, and there'd be no sublet clauses.
Interesting.
And that's not coming from the developers. That's coming from the kind of municipal ordinances. Right. I mean, one of the sectors that we're moving into, it's a big project. I can't really announce it because it's not official, but this idea of furnished apartments, which is a real British vibe. You see it a lot in London, where you come in and the entire apartment is completely furnished and you could rent it for, however long you're going to stay.
Right. Is
really the hybrid. I mean, that's the market. It's a cross between a hotel, a residential apartment, kind of an Airbnb vibe.
Yep.
And, you're being provided full service, because a lot of people that, don't really have the time to go out there, they need an apartment, whether they're on business or, divorced dads, or whatever it is, or moms, don't want to go and, do the house thing. They're like, just give me an apartment, give me the key, and I'll let you know when I'm done, right? So that's a great sector of the market. And I think, but right now there's a lot of, I wouldn't say controversy, but dialogue to say, would those furnished apartments in essence be Airbnb? Right. Or would they be hotel? Or wait, they're not neither. So and there's no language for it.
Yep. That's interesting.
But that's a deep area of interest of myself.
Yep. Is there any marketing that you get involved with specifically after site's built, or even just like pre having it built?
Yeah, I would say the real focus right now for me personally is the Allison Hotel, and that is located in Fort Monmouth.
Yes. Yep.
And that is a perfect example of a blend of kind of what I do and how this works. And it's local. So Michael Aboud and Chris Silvento buy a piece of property at the fort at a time where nobody even knew that
Right.
the fort was even for sale,
Right.
right? Let alone get into the fort. And their approach at that time was retail and hospitality, which was also crazy
Yep.
because all that lifestyle retail was going. I mean, the malls were going down. I mean, no
Yeah.
one really liked either. And it proved to be unbelievably, fortuitous because the timing right now, their retail is up and they're ready to move forward on 3 buildings. They have 3 buildings that are along the river. One will be a hotel, one will be a wedding facility, and one will be a restaurant entertainment scenario.
Wow.
And
Yeah, it's perfect timing.
I mean, and this is before Netflix was even contemplated. Nobody, I don't even know if anyone knew what Netflix was at the time when they did this,
Oh
right?
wow, so it's that long ago.
Right. So now Netflix comes in and like takes the whole park, like
Right.
3,000 people
Yeah.
on a daily basis, and they're sitting on a powder keg
Yeah.
of opportunity.
100%. Yeah.
I were working out in the basement of their building over on Sanger Avenue, Russell Hall, which is that important looking building as you come into the fort off
Yep.
the Oceanport Avenue side. And so a friend of mine has a gym there, Chris Ascari, great guy. And so I'm working out, and I'm working out next to this guy, telling him what I do. Like, I'm a hotel guy, I'm this, I'm that. He's like, hey, we're doing this thing. What do you think? Which is really actually not the truth. That's what I like to say. I basically begged him for the job, actually. I was like, please, for the love of God,
Give this to me.
this is right next to me. I am the guy. You're like,
Right.
call Ian Traeger,
Right.
call Andre Balaz, call Steven Starr,
Right.
call David Burke. Although, so I started dropping, I guess, the right names, and he's like, look, if you're serious about this and want to commit to it,
Right.
like, let's do it.
Yeah. No,
And
that's
together
awesome.
we're going to launch this thing, and it's going to be membership model.
Okay.
It'll be open to the public also, but there's a whole kind of membership subtext
Right.
that I think is going to fly off the shelf as soon as they can see the product.
Yeah, that's awesome.
A lot of people, believe it or not, don't have the imagination of the people imagining it. Right.
Yes. Yeah.
The one thing I've learned in my later career is that not everybody sees what I see.
Right.
And by the way, I'm not always right either. So,
Right.
but I see it here, and I think I'm right.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I've been dying. I mean, I'd love to get Vale Hall.
Yeah.
That building is so fucking cool.
We'll talk to Mike.
Yeah, that was that.
Although I get a VIG. Can we say that on
Yep.
the podcast? All right. What is a VIG? You want to go over that? No, I'm just kidding. It's not a VIG.
Yeah, I mean, I would love that building.
Yeah.
It's not, it's big, but not tremendously big. It's where, it seems like it could be affordable, but yeah, no, it's so cool looking.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I want
so
the firehouse, which is adjacent from it.
Yes,
I think
yeah,
that could be
firehouse
a
is cool,
good playing ground there.
Yeah, definitely.
But
So, when should that be complete? Like, when will that be expected to be done?
it's already underway. It's under construction now.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to get one of the venues open, probably Festival Hall, which is the restaurant nightclub vibe. Although you can't say nightclub anymore. Restaurant entertainment
Got
scenario. But I feel that if we can get in there for New Year's would be fantastic. But I really think we're talking about Q1, Q2,
2026.
yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Hotel's going to be great. 50 rooms, total boutique, 6 suites,
Okay.
which will help the wedding pavilion because it's right on the water, sunset views.
How big is the wedding hall?
We'll be able to hold up to like 500 people, 500-600 people.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, most weddings now are around 200, 225, 250. But in our community, there are people throwing
And that'll be on the water?
on the water.
so
So, and the
that's
sun
beautiful.
sets like on the river, Shrewsbury River.
That's awesome.
Like
Yeah.
every night when it's not cloudy, even when it is cloudy, at some point you see something. But really is going to be a great spot. I mean,
That's awesome.
it'll be positioned. I don't think we're going to be as elaborate as the Shadowbrook, but it'll be one of the premier places to get married.
Nice. Awesome. How many projects are you working on at once?
I only work on 6 projects
Okay.
at a time.
Got it.
And I do have 6 working for Atlantic Health Hospital, moving forward on a number of their initiatives. Great client, and they own a bunch of real estate, and they're in the middle of a huge transition to build a big hospital.
Okay.
So they have a lot of out parcels, and I got that. I got the look there, which is great. We're going to do
great.
some condos and some other type of development. I'm building a movie studio in Carteret, New Jersey.
Wow, that's fun. That's a fun project.
Yeah, it hasn't
Is this
launched.
a Joe project or is this with somebody else?
Well, everything is always with somebody else.
Right,
I
yeah.
can't do anything by myself. I like have separation. I'm going to be sad when I leave today. I mean,
All right, yeah.
but I think there's always somebody else. But I have a partner, Sven Ebeling, who is an Academy Award winning producer from California.
Wow.
And he and I have merged together to develop this on the. I like the water, so it's another river project right there.
That's great.
On the Arthur Kill, and boy, this is going to be like a Netflix, like a baby Netflix.
Yeah.
Which is all you need.
Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
When your dad's a $300 billion a year, what's the you could do a little offshoot there.
Yeah. Yep.
And we're going to be a content factory, create our own content, do our own, make our own movies, make our own TV.
That's great.
Stuff, and that's what Sven's going to do. I'm going to deliver the building.
That's
and then
awesome.
drive around with a cigar and a golf cart.
There you go.
yell at people for parking at my spot.
Right. That is
Yeah,
awesome.
it's gonna be great. So I mean, look, it's very ambitious. What else are we doing, Chris?
Right. Yeah.
What else are we doing? What am I gonna like? I don't fish. I wish I did.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at golf.
I'm terrible at golf and fishing.
Yeah.
I'm not-
So I do the band and try to do big projects. That's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's awesome. Yeah, and that downtime definitely bores the shit out of me. So I feel like you're the same.
Yeah.
Cut from the same cloth there.
Got to kind of keep going.
Yeah. What would you say to somebody that was, interested in your career and didn't know that existed? How would you say they can get into into your space?
Well, like I said, I'm like a pair of nunchucks. Like you could use them, but you're probably going to hit yourself in the head with them. So I don't recommend what I do.
Okay.
But if I were going to get into this industry right now, I would give the same advice I give my daughters. Learn as much as you can, as young as you can.
Yep.
And then go entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Find a sector in the market.
Yep.
Find something that moves you and do it.
Yep.
Because you know what I'm seeing in the 50s? All my buddies that work for corporations getting laid off.
Yes. Yep.
Getting laid off.
Yep.
And it's hard to reinvent yourself after you've given that much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So get as much as you can, as early as you can. Go out there online, get an LLC,
Yep.
get a bank account,
Yep.
try to get a client or two,
Yeah.
and roll. But
Yeah.
but not too soon. You want to spend some time actually crafting your breadth of experience and get your experience in what you like. So if you're doing something that you're not that crazy about, you got to pivot.
Right.
Right.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
The service sector is, until manufacturing comes back, we're all servicing each other.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's good advice. So what, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you for help on a project, how would they find you?
Best way to find me is on the web.
Okay.
And it's
So
real
just-
creative.
Just Google your name.
It's Joe Bezzone, Bezzone
Okay.
at Bezzone.com.
Okay. Awesome.
I don't know. I guess I'm a brand
You're
in a non-branded way, but that's why we're coming to you, Chris.
There you go.
Come on, man. This could go big. This could go big. You never
Yes.
know.
Yeah, definitely. So on your website, what kind of services are you offering? If you're giving me a bulleted list right now, like why would somebody hire you? I know we talked about a bunch of this stuff today.
Yeah, I fall under the caption of real estate advisory, and once it becomes a project, I'm your representative, right? So if you own a piece of property, and whether you're experienced or not, because all of my clients are super experienced institutional real estate guys, right? But not everybody. So if you own a piece of property, you think it's strategic, you want to know what to do with it or how to do with it, I am that guy to come in and kind of give my opinion for a living.
Yep, that's great. That's awesome. How do you get paid? Like, is it a percentage of total project or?
I've been trying to figure that out myself. I'm not nearly.
You're doing this for free right
Yeah,
now.
well, how do you get paid? I think at the end of the day, there's value, and you create value, and you extract a piece of that value, and you're best off kind of making that understood early,
Right. Yeah.
because as you know, you go down the value path. It's hard to it's hard to claim your value after the value is brought because it's complicated.
Right.
But I charge them. I charge typically a monthly fee, small or none sometimes if I love the project.
Yeah.
And then as things move forward, I take a little piece of the revenues.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Are you so piece of revenues for eternity, or is it a period of time?
Eternity's a long time.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
That's what I'm. That's a great deal.
Eternity's a long time. I think until they're sick of me, actually.
got it.
And then there's a sick of me clause in all of my stuff. But
Nice.
I think it's usually, the time horizon of any deal is somewhere you build it a couple years, stabilizes in a year or two.
Yep.
And usually there's a 10-year window where you look at it. But it all depends on lease. Most leases are 25-year leases.
Right. Yep.
So when you look at that process, I would never want to be in a position that I didn't add value and try to be in the middle of something.
Right. Yep.
So I keep it loose in that way because I'm confident with what I do and how I do it. But I would say the average term is about 5 years.
5 years. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. I'm huge on adding value, huge on being remarkable, and recurring revenue opportunities. With those three things in mind, what service is there that you provide or you could provide, maybe that you haven't thought about yet, that would kind of keep you engaged, maybe even longer than the 5-year period? Is there anything that you can do?
Yes. I think that you want to align yourself with the operating mechanics of whatever you build. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if you build a restaurant, every night you're going live, right? And every night there's an opportunity to earn.
Yeah.
And I think that, the longevity of that is where you want to position yourself. Same thing with hotels. So, to get a management fee, I think at the end of the day, is great.
Yep.
But, third party only management fees is not to me, not a great business because most of those contracts are only 2-3 years.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you want to align yourself almost as a developer partner, but
Right.
instead of putting up your equity, you're putting up your expertise.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. That's great. Awesome. Well, it was great having you on the show today. Is there anything else that we need to know about Joe Bezzone that we could tell our audience here?
I don't know. I mean, I saw the weights right behind. I mean, I guess after this we're gonna do like a strength type thing.
Usually we try to beat people up before and get them tired out.
Yeah, well, I'm tired, man. This is exhausting.
I'm tired too.
Yeah, this was
Those are
great.
good.
This is great. I've done a few, and you did a great job.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming in. It was great to learn a lot about what you've been up to. And, if you need to get in touch with him, now you know where he's at. So, if you have a piece of land and you're looking for some help on building something remarkable, Joe Bezzone is the guy here.
Thank
so,
you. Or invite me to the beach. I mean, listen,
There you go.
I'm easy.
Yeah. And as far as your band goes, when will you be? Do you have any gigs booked or anything like that?
I have a couple of favorite places to play. I love the Ocean House at Seabright.
Yep.
There's a couple of great little spots. I mean, we still play Barre, we still play the
nice.
Pony, we still play,
Cool.
So we're still out there. But
And what kind of music are you playing, for those that don't know?
it's classic rock.
Mm-hmm.
It's classic rock. Yeah, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Truth of the matter is that the age bracket in that genre is unbelievable because our kids grew up listening to our music, so they know classic rock.
Yep. Yeah.
And so do people. Really the demo is like 25 to 65.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, it's wild. I saw a band, never heard of them before. They popped up on my Instagram feed, and they're actually playing Asbury on Friday night. And I'm like, wow, these guys sound so much like the shit that I grew up listening to, and it's just like it's coming full circle. It's a more modern version of that,
Sure.
But it's like everything. Is now kind of coming back again, which usually happens in music, there's these little things.
I mean, it's serendipity that Monmouth County really has become this like capital of music, really in the country, really. I mean, Seattle barred it for a little while, but the whole idea of the Stone Pony, it's so iconically important.
Yeah.
Because it there was no better time than the 70s, like late 60s, early 70s for music, and
Right.
that's when that came along. And Bruce is still around, and
Yep.
and he become this ambassador for all things rock and roll, and these guys still show up.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I hear Bill Murray's still showing up in Chicago on Ray. Have you heard about this phenomenon?
No.
So, like, if he's walking by your house and he sees people walking in for a party,
He goes in. I have
he
heard
will
of
go
this.
in and bartend, right?
Yes, yeah.
And Bruce has got to do the same thing now. If you're gigging, he'll show.
Yeah,
You know, if he's
that's
around.
funny. That's cool.
So yeah,
It's funny. Bill Murray he is in South Carolina a lot. I have a house down there, and
Yeah.
every once in a while I'll see, he was at this place or he was here.
yeah.
But,
I just great. He just tends bar, and people
Yeah.
are like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "I don't know."
yeah, just chilling
I
out.
don't know, like, you know, John Belushi's not here anymore. I got to
I
do
know.
something. You know,
Yeah, he's a crazy character
crazy,
for sure.
crazy.
Well, you have to definitely let us know.
I will.
When
Be
you're
my
rocking out
pleasure.
again. It'd be fun
Yeah,
to
man.
see you. How's
I'll
the
let you
sound stage there at the Pony nowadays? Is it still good or?
I think it's phenomenal. I think I think the
Stage sound.
Bar A, the Pony, there are a bunch of them. I mean, I think the Vogel right now over at the Count Basie is a killer place to go
it's
see
a
a band.
great little venue. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that I think from a sound perspective, technology's improved.
Yeah.
And what I mean is you don't have to lose hearing.
Right.
Although I will tell you, if you're going out for live music, you should have ear protection in.
Yeah. No, definitely.
You should.
Yeah, a couple of every once in a while.
It still sounds good. It still sounds good.
Yeah.
It's not like, you know what I mean? But you don't have to blow your ears out.
Yeah, I mean, I played in bands for years, so like my ear, I have tinnitus.
Yeah.
It's ringing all the time anyway.
Right.
So.
Right. To me, I thought tinnitus was a sport that you played with rackets, but we didn't know anything about that at the time, which is why most of us are like half deaf now, right?
Yes,
So,
exactly.
but anyway, so we left with a PSA of a public service announcement.
Yeah.
Wear ear protection, kids.
Exactly. There you go. We don't sound old at all now.
Well, you're not old. In my case, So,
Well, awesome. Well,
right.
thanks for coming on the show again, Joe.
yeah,
Appreciate
man.
it. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks,
Awesome.
man.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Thanks.